So today I'm hanging out and chatting with a musician that I've listened to for a really long time, and I'm a little overwhelmed at the moment that I'm even getting to hang out and talk. He's a player, producer, everything under the sun, and I discovered him through a band early 2000s called Spymob, and I can't wait to chat with him about those days. So it's a pleasure to have Brent Paschke on the podcast. How are you, Brent?
I'm good, Brad. Thanks for having me on, man. Great to chat with you.
Yeah, I've really been looking forward to this. I appreciate you agreeing to sit down and talk a little bit. So,
of course.
Yeah. So how are things on the West Coast these days?
It's good. It's been hot, very hot over here. But yeah, it's been good. I've been more in the recording chair a lot lately, and I did just finish the GarageBand course that's just kind of a labor of love, the education stuff. And I've had a fun time building some of those products over the last 10 years or so. So I just finished this course that I'm really proud of. Then Johnny Smoke album, I just finished. And that one we'll be releasing, kind of figuring out the releases right now. But I think the first single's coming out on the 22nd. So.
Okay, cool.
So that's been fun. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, I know you've been a busy guy, and I can't wait to dig in and ask you some more about the educational material that you've been working on, because that's, as we spoke earlier, I'm a musician and doing this, but I'm also a tech director at a school. So there's a lot of overlap with the music and the technology, and I'm really interested to hear what you're doing with that.
Yeah. Well, with the education stuff, so I started that. I kind of got back into the education stuff around 2014. It started with me being in the studio and seeing some of the producers coming in from, fresh off of graduation, coming in from the Midwest into LA, wanting to, get their chance in at being an artist or a producer. And they'd always ask me questions. I was in this kind of compound of studios, and they'd be like, "Oh, Pharrell's my favorite producer." Listen, they'd heard N.E.R.D or whatever, and so they'd start asking questions, and I'd always ask them what kind of music education did you have in school? And I was shocked at the responses, because the responses were they had no music education. That kind of shocked me, because I had always, I don't know, I guess I had just thought all schools had music education. All schools have jazz band. All schools have theory class, marching band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, what would I do if I was in a school these days and didn't have any education, like music education, or what would the landscape look like to me? And I was like, well, who knows? Maybe I'm a guitar player. I love playing guitar, but I have to think, take 20 years off my life. And I grew up, whatever, in high school in the 90s or something like that. And there's no music education. Well, right. Or now, and I thought I know myself. I know I'd be looking into technology, because, as a guitarist growing up, we always had you'd always look for these little tools to help you practice, right. That would make maybe chord progressions that you could practice over. When I was really, really young, you'd use 4-track recorders. You would just record a guitar part over and over for 5 minutes, and then you could practice to it,
Right. Sure.
So that led me to the GarageBand thing. And long story short, I kind of did a lot of thinking on it. I was like, well, man, you could use GarageBand. GarageBand had just become a free product at that point. Mm-hmm. And it's a really powerful software, especially for being free. Apple had these iBooks at the time. And I was like, well, why wouldn't you do education with a digital book so you can have video, and why, so I started looking at Apple books, and I was like, man, you can do so much with this. You can put your own widgets in there, so you could build little players right inside the book. You can put we in our book had little mixer widgets. So we made this book that deconstructed Happy, and then we taught people how to reconstruct it using GarageBand. And that's where it all started. So I took all that. Yeah, I took all this information. I stepped ahead there a little bit, but I took this information, I took it to Pharrell, and I told him, I said, I think we could do this with this book. We could deconstruct Happy, and then we could have kids reconstruct it. And he thought it was a great idea. He said, let's go to Apple, talk to Apple about it. We talked to Apple about it. Apple loved it. And we created that book. So we created this Learn Pharrell Williams Happy. So it was just a 3-chapter book. It had an introduction where we right into exciting stuff, which was important for us. I co-wrote this book with Kiko Doran. And we wanted to get kids interested right away. Kind of like, we didn't want to put them down a path of like a bunch of, long fundamental lessons or something like that. Right. Get them interested right away. So we had the inspiration of Happy right at the top. And there was a video of Pharrell talking about how he made the song, a video of Pharrell talking about how he wrote the lyrics. And then you're right into the deconstruction of Happy, and we're showing how each track was kind of made. It started with this and snare drum, and there's a bass guitar. We break all that down, and then 3rd chapter, we're like, here we are. Let's reconstruct this song. So we had that book. The book did really well. It was hard to keep the company going because of just the expense of it and whatnot. So the company ended up folding. The book is actually still out there, but through all of that, I took those lessons, the lessons that I learned that were difficult about making that book. And I still had this heart for making something that teachers could use in class and something that's really simple for a beginner musician. And so a couple of the things that were difficult was when we had people reconstruct Happy, we couldn't have them share it. So that was something that we heard from the teachers, is they can't be posting it on their sites or anything. There's copyright stuff on that.
Right.
It was a very expensive kind of endeavor to keep up because you have to work with major label artists and major label record companies and publishing companies and multiple writers. So I wanted to figure out a way that it was simpler and just more conducive to like a school environment in the end. So that's where I made this course. And I kind of figured out a clever way with this course to take people through the steps to create their own song, but to kind of have fun while they're doing it. So a lot of the education I saw out there for things like GarageBand, it kind of seems like it seems a lot like a user's manual rather than a creative manual.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like here's the beat sequencer and here's how it works. Okay, well, here's the beat sequencer. Here's how it works. Let's apply it in a musical situation and get creative with it.
Right.
So I wanted to go those extra steps. I figured out this way to let students basically choose from, at this point, I have like 4 different loops on there, kind of different styles. So they can choose from these different styles of loops. And then I kind of put some guardrails on there. So it's beginner friendly. So they can come out of it having a song that sounds like a song, but it really is their own, So,
and then it can be shared and distributed, right?
It can be shared, distributed. It's their song. They do whatever they want with it. They post it on, whatever, all the Spotify or whatever,
Yeah.
So that was kind of that was the goal of it for me. And I just kind of thought I got to get it out there. I got to start to get some feedback, pilot it in some schools, get some one-on-ones piloting it, workshops, and then I'll move with the times. I'll work with it, see what's best for the students, see what's best for the teachers. I have some great ideas for it, but you can't quite tell until you start to get it into classrooms,
Yeah. And well, look, I'm a tech director at a school in St. Louis, kindergarten through 6th grade. So dealing with that, early, elementary music, elementary technology. And you're right. We can have all of these ideas of how it's going to go, but until the moment you put it in the hands of a teacher or in the hands of a student, you don't really know all of the little, I would have never thought about that thing. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I would say too, what I love about it is that I always feel like, especially with students, there's usually maybe a little bit of a musical roadblock holding them up, or there's a tech roadblock holding them up. And this is allowing them to kind of, bring both up to the same level. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. And then on the teacher side too, I knew because I taught, and I'd met a lot of teachers through all this process, and I know how overworked teachers are. I know, and I know this might be intimidating, and I know it's like for a teacher who's a band director who maybe wants to implement some of this stuff. Like, I don't know, it just it doesn't seem fair that they should have to go through it and figure this all out. You know what I mean?
I know.
It's a deep, like the amount of hours I have into like figuring out those steps to make it easy to understand GarageBand and build a song in it. You know, I wanted to find where is that place where I can make it really easy for the teacher. They can be in their world. They can do what they need to do. They're not hung up by like, man, I got to spend the summer learning how to use GarageBand. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Come on, you know, like it'd be better. I got to learn the summer. I got to spend the summer just, you know, checking out this program, seeing how I can make it work in my environment, you know?
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah, that's kind of those are big goals for me. And I like those goals. I love the challenge of making those products as easy as and best as possible like that. You know, like that, the challenge of getting the steps, like making the steps to create those things really easy. There's a creative thing in there it's fun to crack that code.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. Well, and what a golden age I would say that children are in, where they have just the world at their fingertips of how to learn an instrument or how to learn how to record or use music notation. I mean, the technology is at their fingertips now, way more than when we were their age. You know,
way more. Yeah, and I mean, for musicians, like I tell everybody, like, you know, I do a lot of work with this company called Apogee. I helped them develop this help them develop. I just was helping with like some of the features and feedback on the features of this product called the Jam. It's just this one guitar input, right?
Yeah.
Interface. And you can use it with your phone, you could use it with your computer or whatever. But I always tell people that it's like, it's the must have in your backpack as a guitarist, because once you don't even need to have your head around GarageBand a ton for this thing, but just to be able to be anywhere and drop down an idea in good quality. Like, you know what I mean? It's back to like that thing we always dream of being able to capture the inspiration when it's right there. Like that's really where you want to be. So like, I always tell like beginners to professional musicians I meet, I'm like, this is the greatest thing to have in your backpack, because the minute you need to get that idea down, you can get it down right on your phone, which is always with you, you know, and have it. And then it can be exported and imported into, you know, from Logic to GarageBand, which is basically kind of the same thing, but Logic is just with more features, you know, or the Pro Tools or whatever. So yeah, it's a great time. And I think there's no reason to not start on a platform with like GarageBand or something. You know, sometimes a lot of schools will use Soundtrap, but GarageBand is just it's so ultimate with its features, and it's such a great program. And it's real. There's so much you can learn for yourself about, you know, who you want to be as an artist, and kind of you can get that feedback when you start recording stuff, and you get that immediate feedback back. You know what I mean? So it's a good time for that. You're right.
Yeah, it really is. Well, I'm so interested in us maybe having a look at this at our school, because I can imagine our students, it would really resonate with them to have something like this. Yeah, it'd be really cool.
I would love that. Yeah.
Where I know you lived in Minneapolis. Where were you born and where were you raised? Where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Okay.
So I might be the only one you've met.
You certainly are.
So a small town, Grand Forks, North Dakota. I was just north of Fargo, which people have gotten to know from the movie, Coen Brothers movie, and now the series. And then from there, I graduated high school. I went to Minneapolis, and in Minneapolis, I went to school, this place called Music Tech, which became McNally Smith. Went to school for a year, and then started right after I graduated. I think right after I graduated, I started this band called Spymob.
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, and I know that you also told me that somewhere on that in that timeline. You played some with Rob Meany, is that right?
Yes, yeah. So, dude, I was crazy when I looked through the your podcast. I was like, Rob, yeah. So Rob and I had a group called the Cheshire Cats, and we were doing like the Steely Dan and Rudgren and the '70s stuff, and it was a great group. And it was I love Rob, and we had such a great time. What a great musician Rob
Oh, he's a
is.
great musician and
Great dude.
yeah, he's a great guy. We've become, kind of close through this process, and yeah, I think a lot of him and his musicianship, great writer, great singer, player. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think thanks to the internet, I could look up and find out when it was. I saw Spymob at the Cotton Club in Atlanta because that's where I was living.
Oh, no way. Okay.
In 2004, that's when you
Okay.
guys were in Atlanta in 2004. I guess you were touring the record then, and it was great. It was just such a good show.
Oh, that would have been with was it when we were opening for N.E.R.D or were
No, it was just you guys. So
it was oh my God, yeah, that's right. We had that small run. Yeah.
I actually got a friend of mine introduced me to you guys, and we went to see you guys there, and it was so that place was the House of Blues during the Olympics when they were in Atlanta, and the bottom floor of it is a really cool concert venue, and that's where you guys played when you were, in Atlanta. Yeah.
Yes, that's
really good.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brad. Yeah, we did that little run after, like, that was when we did a deal with Ruthless Records. That's where our record actually finally came out, and it was like a 10-year deal or something. We actually ended up getting our masters back. So the masters that are up now are ours. So, but yeah, at that time we had done this little tiny run for Spymob. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy sauce, man.
Yeah, it was a pretty intimate little venue, and I was like, holy cow, these guys you guys just played so well. And I just remember your guitar playing just standing out to me, like, man, just these really wonderful parts. And
thank you.
And I've noticed, and I've seen some things where you've talked online. I can tell being a rhythm guitar player is an important thing to you.
Yeah. So rhythm. Yeah. So I'm a sucker for, I love when the pocket feels just right. Like I don't know, like maybe that, I don't know where it comes from. I really don't like, I do, obviously I've done my share of leads, and you'll hear me play lead stuff on things. And I've had a lot of time in my life where I've enjoyed, like, learning how to solo over things or whatever. But in my world, like, rhythm is just, I don't play solos on Pharrell stuff. I don't play solos on Spymob stuff. If I play solos in the studio now, I like to compose them. I'm just more on that side of, and my chops aren't at the point right now. I'm on that composer side.
Yeah.
But the foundation though for me is it's rhythm, man. It's just it's got to just feel really good, And there's that spot even between, like, nowadays we can really perfect things well. We can quantize anything. But man, when you get that take where it's just like a good feel the whole way through, there's just that little bit of push and pull, and that to me is the North Star. That's what always gets me.
I agree.
Yeah.
And and I hope I don't piss off all of my drummer friends that are going to hear this, but of course a good drum track is paramount to a good song. But I always feel like a good rhythm guitar track is like the secret weapon of a song. I mean, you listen to Nile Rodgers or I mean, come on. I mean, that groove is just as important as what the drummer's doing.
Exactly. And I know that. I hear that in my gut, I mean, yes, I agree. Of course, we need that pocket, but there's this push and pull, I think, that really fascinates me between like all the instruments, and I talk about this a lot, that us rock guitarists, I think we really play on the front of the beat, and if I didn't really understand all this when I was young, I just felt it, people would be like, it's too far ahead, Brent. It's, if I'd hear that sometimes, oh, it feels too far ahead. And I'd always kind of oh yeah, I think I just am on the top, or I kind of a guitarist that pushes, and I am, but then with my more adult years, I went back, as I go back now and listen to like AC/DC or Van Halen, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, geez, some of these nowadays engineers would move those parts. They're so far ahead. They're like, guitars are just pushing, or like James Brown guitars. They're like way ahead. They're pushing the beat. But there's something about that. Like when you get that right, it's like there's
this tension to it that really brings up the energy level in the track. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like somebody mentioned, the N.E.R.D song, You Know What? It's on Scene Sounds.
Yeah.
And there's that guitar, right? Like if you listen to it, it's pretty far up, it's pushy, but it gives it that thing where, because the drums and bass are kind of setting it back, and it gives it that, it just keeps on pulling it.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, like, when you get that right, like nothing better.
Nothing better. Did you guys find that when you started working with Pharrell with N.E.R.D, did the band collectively, or you as a player, have to adjust? Did you adjust some ways of how you were feeling some things working with them? Or
not with Pharrell. Never. It's never been that, because we all came from the same background. Like Pharrell loves he loves like that yacht rock stuff.
Yeah.
All pun intended, right?
Right.
Yeah. But so he loves that. And so we all came from that, and we came from, and rock worlds too, he knows he grew up with all the 70s pop rock, and it all has that same feel that we all grew up with. And then the interest, I think also, like, Pharrell was listening to Spymob. We didn't know this. Like, so somebody gave him him and Chad, they gave him our 6-song EP. I think that's up online. Yeah, it is.
I think it is.
The 6-song EP. So they had been listening to that, so they knew kind of our sound. They were really familiar with our sound. But I don't know. You get to a point where when these players you play with, know them so well. Like at this point, when like I have to play on a Pharrell track, and Pharrell, be honest, man, Pharrell writes 90-95% of those guitar parts, unless he can't sometimes guitar is one of the trickiest, if not the trickiest instrument, right, to kind of fake.
Yeah.
But those especially if you hear a lead line, a lot of times it's a Pharrell line,
Wow.
Or if it's a lead, boom. Despicable Me 4, boom, ba-dum, ba-na-na, dum, bum, bum, bum. That's played in by Pharrell. If I pull up the original session I got, there's a Logic track where Pharrell's playing that guitar in,
Yeah.
But even if he didn't, I feel like our pockets, we've played together so much. If he just set something down there, I kind of know right where to sit it pocket wise,
Right. Yeah. How long have you guys been working together now? I mean, it's 20 plus year relationship,
20,
right?
Yeah, it's 20 plus years. Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point.
That's a good long relationship to be working with someone, that's really cool.
It's a blessing.
I'd forgotten that he would checking you guys out before you even knew that that was a thing.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we just shared that thing. That's like we grew up listening to the same thing, and we're both and I think like Spy Mob was we're sticklers about pocket and groove. Like we kind of we do have a pretty high bar that we hold each other to.
Yeah.
And Pharrell just naturally I don't know if he really honestly, I think for Pharrell on this stuff, I don't think it's like very thought out. It's not like for him, it's like thought out that like, oh, the music, this feels on top or that. But like, I don't think that's thought out. For Pharrell, he's much more just gut instinct.
Yeah.
And he's just really good with that. Like, yeah. Really incredible.
Yeah. It was one of those things that, someone's done great work and been successful, but I looked through some of his producer credits, and you don't realize just how much he's done in a really short amount of time. It's quite incredible.
It's incredible, yeah. And until you sit in the room with him too, you don't even realize the level of talent there is really, 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 really high. It's shocking. Yeah. He's a very, very hard worker, and like his ability to just be really obedient to the heart of the music and to the heart of what he's hearing is really incredible.
Yeah. Well, all of the stuff that I've heard you play with him over the years, just from the beginning, it's just such suitable and acceptable parts, and everything just works so well to the song. It's really nice.
Thanks.
I wanted to ask you about the and I love all of the Spy Mob stuff. I have a certain a love for the album Memphis that you guys did. Yeah. I wanted to, I guess I wanted to ask a little bit about the origins of that happening and maybe some of the influence that led to some of that, because it is quite a departure from a lot of the stuff you guys were doing before. And I was curious about it. And also, who played steel guitar on that? It sounds so good.
It's God, dude, I got to find his name. Kenny, it was Kenny. I'm spacing his last name. Amazing, right?
Ooh, great playing on
it. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah. I'll find his name so we could put it in the notes or something.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to give him credit because his incredible work. So the origins were just, oh man, I don't know. I mean, we were kind of maybe we weren't in the greatest spot at that point because we were touring and we didn't know what was happening. I don't know, and we were just trying to figure out what was going on, I think, a little bit. But John had been writing these country tunes, and we were just like, well, let's record them. It's cool. Yeah. These are great songs, and let's just do it. So it was one of those things where we said, we got some money, let's get some studio time and record the record, and that's it, So it was just an off the cuff thing. It was a thing where it was just a band wanting to do some cool stuff. We didn't really, that's what John in Spy Mob is the main writer. So that's like John's like role is piano, singer, writer, he writes everything.
Yeah.
There's a few things that like, I think have come out where Eric's written a couple, but pretty much is John, so that's where John was, and we support it and wanted to support it, and we loved the songs and did it. It was pretty much, there wasn't much more to it. I'd have to ask the other guys if there was any other plans or anything.
Yeah.
But I always just remember it as like, this is where we are. Let's record these songs. They're good songs.
Yeah. I've played all kinds of music in my life, but I have a certain, portion of it that I've enjoyed playing a lot of traditional country music. I've played a lot of that
Mm-hmm.
over the years, and it's deceptively difficult, I would say, to play it correctly because there's so much simplicity to it, and there's a tendency to
Mm-hmm.
not play it with the right feel. And I was so impressed with you guys, the way you played it, and it never. I think sometimes maybe bands will do something leaning towards country music and it feels a little bit like a caricature of country music and maybe not
Yeah.
that thing. It never felt that way on that album. It felt really honest and true to it.
Yeah, I think Spy Mob, like it's funny, like Spy Mob has this thing where we kind of know what our sound is, or we kind of know where. It's weird. I thought about this recently. Like Spy Mob, this isn't that hard for us to know, like what is or isn't us. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so when we approach that, we call it like a country record, but it's so like it's Spy Mob country for sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
Yes, I'm like trying my best at a couple Brett Mason licks, here or there, you know what I mean? Like, and like not even coming close to Brett Mason, but hey, that's a good North Star,
right.
So, you don't hear like, yeah, Eric, it's funny because like yeah, you're right. Like a lot of bands would go in and go, well, we got to get the country drum set now. And Brent, you got to get, well, I was playing a Telecaster and a matchless. So I was still in country zone, which is my N.E.R.D setup too. And John still just on the same, we didn't like change things up to go like, make it a country sound. We just said, let's just add this country flavoring to the Spy Mob mix and see what comes up,
Yeah, so. In thinking as you're saying this, I'm thinking about you guys doing that and doing your, we'll call it your regular Spy Mob stuff that you guys have been doing, and then you doing collectively with N.E.R.D. You've all just kind of gone together and it's just worked, right? Whatever style or vibe or whatever it is you're doing, there's this collective thing that it all just seems to work with you guys. It's really amazing.
Well, there's like Spy Mob is like Spy Mob is very foundational focused. Like we don't get that. That's just something for us. I see this in young producers. It's more of a as young producers are coming up. A lot of things. A lot of times, I'll notice what they might need. Like some help with might be just knowing what the foundation is. And that comes to like Rick Rubin's, like, Rick Rubin will say, I think it's Rick Rubin, right? D produces a lot, Spy Mob has always from the start been good at just, well, fuck, cause we were a band, so we had to sit in a room. Like John would literally bring in songs and he would write like these little scratch charts, He'd go, hey, I got a new tune and here are the chords, Brent, twig, Eric, and we would sit, the four of us in a room and you'd have to just get the foundation together, So I think that has served us really well. And you can see when you get just a good solid foundation, you can just move that anywhere. It doesn't matter. Like I feel like if you wanted Spy Mob to go, okay, we're going to start to do a Bob Marley reggae thing. Like we would take our time and kind of get our bearings around like some of the fundamentals of that style, but it would be applied to Spy Mob fundamentals and we would have our thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah.
So it's really like we have that sound, we have this fundamental thing and we kind of just add to it or work with it,
Yeah. Man, I tell you, I went back and I listened to the Sitting Around Keeping Score. I was listening to it in the car with my daughter, who's 13, and she's like, she's critical of everything her old man listens to. She's like, oh,
yeah.
And I played that for her, and she was like, when did this come out? And I told her, and she said, it sounds like it's brand new. And I thought,
really,
what a wonderful compliment that is to that album. It sounds fresh. It sounds current. It sounds, it has a timeless quality to it, which I really, really thought was awesome.
That's really awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I've never really thought about that. Like I think about that with In Search Of. Like I think with In Search Of, I'm like, put that out today and it's blowing
Unbelievable.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to do just as good as it did then, you know.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. Yeah. Wow, that's a great compliment. Make sure to tell her thank you. Like
Yeah, I certainly
that's a
will.
really great compliment.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I thought, man, I need to tell, I can't wait to tell Brent that, because yeah, what a
Yeah.
nice thing for someone younger that it has listens to a lot of popular music. Obviously, there was just a timeless thing happening when you guys recorded that, and
Yeah.
I think that can be said about what you guys have always done, is that you're so honest to whatever it is you're doing. It removes a lot of the pretense that a lot of music may have.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm Spymob has really been on that. Like we've really always been on. See, like, okay, we did Townhouse Stereo, the album Townhouse Stereo.
Yeah.
Was kind of our first big, attempt at album, right? Like that was like we had like a budget we were working with, recorded on 2-inch tape at a nice like studio, and we were always just about, especially at that time, hell no, we're doing whatever we want, when you listen to the album, you're like, yeah, you got 7-minute songs on there and long intros, and you know, but even when we got our record deal and we did Sitting Around Keeping Score, there was discussions on like, we don't, yes, we want to have like some success. We want to be able to make music, to like, we wanted the music life, we wanted to be able to create music, have the budget to create music and whatnot. But we were very aware of like not losing who we were or not selling. It was selling out really,
Yeah.
So songs like, Thinking of Someone Else, which has like a pop rock thing, we still, there's still funky chords in there and weird arrangements, but that was like our like, hey, we like this kind of pop side, but we're not going to go completely like, we're going to do this so we can get a record deal. It just, that wasn't going to happen. And it wouldn't happen with Spy Mob ever.
Yeah, and and it happens with some people, and that's just dangerous territory to be in, because I think you're always coming at it from a reactive place, and there's no the creativity's always going to be, you're going to be second guessing everything you're doing, thinking through that commercial lens.
Yes, yeah, and we didn't ever want to do that, and I think that's why the album probably feels a bit like that. N.E.R.D is the same thing. I know Pharrell and Chad and Shay were like, they're just making cool shit. They're like, we're just making cool songs. I don't care. I mean, you listen to the latest N.E.R.D record. Like, I didn't play on this. It's all 100% Pharrell. Was Lightning Fire Magic Prayer. That song it's just this crazy all over the place song. Like there's but it's incredible, and it's just like Pharrell going like, I don't care. I'm going to make what I want to make, and that's like, there's so much, even the last N.E.R.D record, I feel like that could come out at any time too. The one with Lemon. That's a single,
Yeah, I agree. It's just, there is this timeless quality to it that, it's just the production of it, just everything, the playing on it. It's just really amazing.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
So were you doing a lot of sessions in Minneapolis, or did that start when you moved? Because you moved to LA, right?
Yeah, so I moved to LA. No session. I wasn't doing sessions in Minneapolis. I moved out of Minneapolis in around 2006, so it was just a couple years. And Spy Mob had kind of, at that point we ran that first course of our life, so my session stuff happened when I came to LA, and it was just, there's so much more opportunity, and I had the Pharrell name and the N.E.R.D name behind me, so I would get contacted by other producers then.
Yeah.
So I did some other, other sessions with like Tricky Stewart. I did some sessions for Katy Perry and Rodney Jerkins I worked with. I worked with this guy, Ryan Leslie. So I got to work with some other, unbelievable producers also.
What was that transition like for being in that setting in that city, working at what did you have to make any adjustment for your guitar playing? Did you Did you find there was a big shift in that when you moved?
Yeah, when I had to like you mean doing some stuff with the other producers and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, because obviously, recording with the band is one thing. Recording for a producer in a set, it's just a whole different thing that may require maybe you thinking in ways that you don't normally as a player.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious how some of that worked.
Yeah, nah. I think I so love, this is probably, if not my favorite, one of my favorites. Like I always say, like I love being behind the glass. I love the recording. I love like figuring out how I can get a guitar in the track just right.
Yeah.
Like to me, like when I get a Pharrell session, or, especially a Pharrell, you can imagine,
Sure.
like you get these Pharrell sessions and I'm like, oh my God, this is just such a great song. Like, and now I have, the chance to like, cause my brain will be like hearing parts, or, it'll be hearing, like, I'll get it and I'll go, oh my God, I'm going to do the wall of sound here. I'm going to rent, I'm going to rent 5 acoustic guitars, and I'm going to, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So like, so that's such a part of me that like, it doesn't matter where I have to fit into, you know what I mean? That's still exciting for me no matter what. And I was fitting into like, Rodney, or it's like a Rodney Jerkins or a Ryan Leslie or Tricky. Like those are all in the same world as Pharrell too.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that hard. And I would say too, I had so much experience playing with programmed, putting rock guitars over programmed drums, you know what I mean? And things like that. So, back in Search of days, like that wasn't the easiest thing, like mixing these rock drums in programmed drums, you had to like phase align things. It was a new territory in a way. So I kind of had years and years of experience doing that. So it was kind of fun for me too, because I felt kind of good at it too. I knew how to kind of fit my guitar into the mix well and into that pocket well. So
that's great, man.
It wasn't a bad transition. It was really fun.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, and I, you've mentioned Steely Dan a few times. I mean, you obviously you were shedding and learning from these artists and these albums that were really built around session players, right? I imagine think about all those great Steely Dan guitar parts with all the Larry Carlton stuff and all of that. Yes. I mean, I imagine there was a lot of listening to that stuff going on in your formative years.
Yeah, it was. And I think that, I was born in 71. So like the stuff that was on the radio when I was like 5 or 6, that's like 76 or so, you know what I mean? Like, so that's all of that music. So like, it's funny when I hear, oh man, I never had a Fender Deluxe Reverb amp. This is getting a little nerdy, but like, for some of these recent like Pharrell sessions, I've been experimenting, because I'll hear things and I'll be like, oh, I really want this sound from this era or something. Cause I kind of have a limited number of amps, because the stuff I use just has always worked. I have my matchless N.E.R.D sound and it just works, Yeah. But I would, when I picked up had a Deluxe Reverb delivered here, this vintage one, and played it, and I was like, oh my God, like that's everything I grew up listening to. Like, like that's the sound. I've heard that sound a million times. I've heard this. So I think that I forgot where we were getting off on the question there. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. No, it's good. Yeah, we were just talking about, like all those great stuff you were probably listening to, the Steely Dan stuff.
Yeah. So all of that, like, I think because I grew up in that era, all that stuff is just embedded in me. You know what I mean? As I was hearing that as a kid on AM radio at times, you know what I mean? Like, sure. It's just embedded in me.
Yeah, that's I'm the same way. I was born in 76, but I heard all that stuff growing up, and my mom, all of that stuff that I probably now listen to or have such a heart for, I was hearing it from her, listening to it in the car and it's one of those things you don't realize how much you're absorbing, like guitar parts and certain drum fills, and then it comes back up and you're like, wow, when did I learn exactly how that sounds? You know, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. It's just in you. You hear it, and you're I think subconsciously going for it. The sounds and everything. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, and I feel so thankful that I had that in the first part of my life, because like some of that, honestly, like let's face it, like some of that music in the 70s, like pocket wise and tone wise and stuff, that's it's unbelievable, and
it's
it's what so many people are going, like the Eagles, Steely Dan, Todd Rundgren, like Doobie Brothers, like my God,
yeah.
like it's textbook A list, Michael McDonald tunes, like you know what I mean?
I
These are
do know what
all
you
like,
mean. Yeah.
yeah,
From the groove to the tones to the chord changes. I mean, they were so interesting. There was so much harmonic information in those 3.5 minutes. Is amazing.
right, and the hooks and yeah, it's just unbelievable stuff at that time. So that's just kind of in me. I feel like I'm always searching. I'm always like that's the level I'm trying to always get to,
Yeah.
because that's what's in my head.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. No, I totally get it.
Yeah,
So in the last few minutes, I wanted to ask you about this project that that's going to be releasing with Johnny Smoke.
yeah.
What was that? Tell me about that project that you guys did and kind of the history of that.
So yeah, so Johnny Smoke. So a friend of mine, Spencer Neasy, great, unbelievable producer and writer. Spence and I, we've known each other for a bit. He's, we've worked together a lot. We were talking one day, and he said, "Dude, you gotta meet this this friend of mine, Johnny Smoke. You're gonna totally vibe with this stuff. He's this crazy good artist." And I was like, "Awesome! Send me the music." And so he sent me the music, and dude, within like 25 seconds, I was like, "Oh my god, this fucking guy is amazing!" Like, and so I hit him up, and I was like, "Dude, let's work together and blah blah blah, and let's link up." And we did, and just totally hit it off. And he had a bunch of music finished, and I was like, "Well, let's get in and let's do some other stuff to it, like so
Yeah.
add a lot of the guitars and just tweak it up and whatnot." And since then, we spent a bunch of time. We finished this album, and yeah, now we're figuring out how to release it exactly, because like releasing it nowadays is a whole different world,
Whole different world. Yeah.
whole different world. And we're really particular also about being true to the art of it, not getting too like, oh, we got to do this and this to, we want to
Right.
really present it as a piece of art. So yeah, so we finished that up. Johnny Smoke, he's just an incredible guy, an incredible artist. He's very true to his art, old school heart and soul. Incredible. He's singing on the record. I actually pushed him a bit to sing, because he's just got such a endearing voice, and it's certain. See, he would play these songs. I don't want to sing. I'm like, man, you sound incredible and killing it. So, but yeah, he's great. He's created this like whole thing, this whole Johnny Smoke thing, which is really him. It's feels very much like a brand in a way. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
it's already so developed. But it is, because that's a bit of the world where where he comes from. He has a clothing line called Sun City Rags, where he designs all these shirts, and they're like limited numbers. And he's just like he's through and through just an incredible artist
Wow.
in everything he does. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
did you produce the album?
so most of this stuff, like John Smoke had a lot of this stuff already complete. But some of it, like there were songs that like some of it he'd have like, oh, I did this one with this other team that was for a sync, because if you can take Johnny Smoke and easily make that like kind of a sync sound by
Hmm.
putting different, just kind of packaging it right, but we didn't want that sound, so most of this stuff was really started by Johnny Smoke, and it's mostly all produced by Smoke. But when it comes in here, we tweak up things together and do additional production to it and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's really Johnny Smoke led, and we have like, again, with like Spymob, there's a very particular kind of sound that we just kind of know what we want it to be,
Yeah.
and we work with that. So, but yeah, so I just came in and did what I did what I do to help finish it, the way we feel it's best. So I get in there if it needs some extra stuff, if Smoke and I need to get in and do some more production, we do. If we don't, like one of the last songs he came in here with, he's great at chopping up samples. So he'll chop up like guitar samples. But then he'll come in and go, "Hey Brent, can you replay it?" One of these last ones he came in and I was like, "Dude, I can't do that better. That's just you. It's gotta be you. I can't do that any better." So we just it doesn't matter. I'm not going to put guitar on it just to put guitar on it.
Right.
If it's got a sample there and it sounds good, keep it.
Yeah. Are you doing a lot of, because I know you have a studio. Do you do a lot of like remote recording for artists and people that send you stuff? Is that a big part of your schedule?
Yeah. So I do, like, there's like some Sound Better. There's a site called Sound Better where people hire me to do sessions. And then just other things, like every once in a while, it might be somebody just wants a song produced, or somebody sent, again, like just a random get a session from someone, but like pretty much nowadays, my God, like nowadays I'm probably over 95% remote doing it all here. Yeah. So when I get like those sessions, especially like Pharrell sessions or something, like I'm sitting here putting up microphones and amplifiers, and especially the Pharrell stuff, I'm pretty much all real stuff.
Yeah.
All real amps.
And I know that the remote stuff is great because you can just do it whenever you have the time to do it and all that. What are your feelings about it? Do you miss being in the room more with other musicians, or is it an acceptable thing?
Yeah, it depends. There's a few pros and cons to it. There are the cons of, okay, when you get a song, if you get a song and you know that it's going to go to another instrumentalist, like another bass player, another keyboardist or something like that, sometimes you'll hear the songs and you might have some questions about chord progressions, or you know what I mean? Like it might be simple things like, are we pushing that chord? Is the bass pushing it, or is the keyboard pushing? You know what I mean? Right. So those are the things where it gets a little complex, where in a normal band situation, you sit around and you go, are you going to push that? Or are we going to, on the end of 4, are we landing on like simple things like that?
Yeah.
Those get a little more difficult. Like, so things like that are a little more tricky. But, personally for me, I kind of like to be able to be alone in my process too, in a way. So like, if I'm having a bad day and it's taken me a bit, like I don't feel like I have somebody over my shoulder and we're in a $2,000 studio,
right?
And I can just take my time, or I'm like, I really want to get the guitar tone, and I've gone through 3 amplifiers to put mics up. It's taken me 2 hours just to figure out if I'm using the matchless or the deluxe reverb. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Like, so those things are nice. And then I can edit, so I can sit here and dial things in exactly how I want, so yes, I have to be my own engineer, which is like a bummer at times. I can't just sit there and concentrate and have somebody else press record again, right. Take that thing,
Yeah.
But I have that time at the end where I can edit up things the way I want to, or, I have the time to play with them especially on Pharrell songs. Like I'm super detailed with Pharrell records. Like especially at this point, and some of the stuff you hear, like that Despicable Me stuff, and his more recent stuff he's doing is getting more and more chordally complex, and some of the more recent stuff has more guitars on it. So like there's times where I'll take like 3 days to record the guitars. I really, really dig in. I take a lot of like pride in doing that stuff, like getting it like making sure everything is just right,
Yeah. Do you send back more, like, do you record just a lot of different tracks and let him choose what he wants?
Yeah. Well,
and I'm talking about even like several versions of a rhythm track and things like that.
Yeah. So I won't do several versions. Once I get the take right, like I'll just leave the one there, you know.
Yeah.
I'll kind of know when it passes, you know, the test, you know,
Yeah.
but I will give options if there's a question. Like, so kind of my goal with Pharrell is that when he comes into the studio and Mike presses, and it's also because it's got to pass the test for his engineer Mike too. So Mike drops it in, and I want Mike to be like, yes, this is fits right in here. And if Mike hears a thing or two that he needs to shuffle or whatever, he can do that. But then I want that for Pharrell too. So
Yeah.
I set it in there. I give, like, if I do anything, I give an alt take, you know, I'll give like this is it here. Like, it might be like, sometimes say like if Pharrell plays the part and it's this guitar part and I hear a programmed guitar part, sometimes it could be even like I'll lock it right up to Pharrell's, right? Like I can even in the computer lock them up, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I want to. But that can be an option, but I might say then, hey, I think it might sound better if I'm just playing it right through, you know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
not locked up. So I have that because Pharrell's ear might be used to hearing it. Maybe it's a little different pocket than I'm used to, right? So Pharrell's ear might be used to hearing it in that little different pocket. But I don't know if it was something that Pharrell put down quick and he just was like, there's just the idea. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe it was a little sloppy. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm running out the door. Here's the idea for Brent. You know what I mean? Like, let him redo it. So, but I don't want to waste Pharrell's time. I want it. If he wanted it like that, it's like that. If he wanted it a different version and just like a little bit different, there's this version. But I try to make it real simple for P. I know his creative process is real fast, so I don't ever want him to have to be like digging through things. It's like it's right there for him and done.
Yeah. Man, that's so awesome just to hear that process, you know, and a relationship based on trust too, where he tells you what he wants and trust that you're going to go into your studio and turn around and give him what's going to work best for the track, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll stay here for a couple days, you know, cause they're in Paris, you know, and so we have a little bit of a time zone thing. So sometimes I'll just stay because, you know, it'll be whatever, like, you know, the time zones are so crazy, and Michael asked me for something and I'll just be here to change it. Or maybe there does need to be a change. Like I really want to like make sure it's there for them exactly when he needs it and wants it. So yeah. I mean, it's an honor to, you know, to be trusted to play on those songs is, you know what I mean? It's such an honor, like, and it's something I really take so seriously. You know, if when I get these songs and they're that good and I hear them and I hear what he did to them, it's like, it's my responsibility to match that, you know? And it's fun, man. I love it. It's the greatest gig in the world.
Oh yeah. And again, the fact that you guys have had this relationship for so long, I mean, that's a testament to him that he wants to continue working with people that he trusts and that creatively give him what he wants.
Yeah.
But what a testament to you as a player, as a team player, that you're always trying to provide what's the best thing for him, you know, and obviously he recognizes that.
Yeah. I know it is great. Yeah. It's like, it's an honor to have that position, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brent, I'm not going to keep you any longer today. I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of your day, man. I can't thank you enough for hanging out and chatting. And
man, it's been an honor. Been a blast. Yeah, thank you, Brad. It's been great, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And well, we'll chat more about the garage band stuff, and would love to, you know, if it's something for the school and for you and whatnot, you know.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk with them about it, and I have no doubt they're going to be totally into the idea of bringing this type of content to our teachers and to our students. I think it'll be really cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks,
Brad.
Well, best of luck, man. Thank you.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks for listening to the Bandwich Tapes. I'm your host, Brad Williams. The show's theme is called Playcation and was written by Mark Mundy. drop me a line at the email address, thebandwichtapes@gmail.com. Make sure to subscribe to receive new episodes of the podcast. And while you're at it, please tell someone else about the show. Thanks for listening.